The recent financial close of the St. Petersburg Western High-Speed Diameter Toll Road project provides a new benchmark for the Russian PPP market. TFI-News met with Oleg Pankratov, head of Infrastructure Capital at VTB Capital, to discuss the deal and implications for future Russian PPPs. I asked Oleg to give an overview of the project and its financing structure.
Western High-Speed Diameter is actually the world's largest PPP project in the toll road sector, where hasn't been anything which is bigger than that so far. The total investment in the project is 206 billion rubles, which is approximately $7 billion. The project consists of three sections: the northern, the southern, and the central section. The central section is the full responsibility of Northern Capital Highway, the consortium formed between VTB Capital as a lead investor and Gazprom Bank, which is sort of another Russian bank and a minority investor in this project. So as I said, the central section needs to be built by this consortium. The total investment into the central section will represent 120 billion rubles, which will be funded by the state grant of approximately 51 billion. The rest will be funded by senior loan of 60 billion, which we signed last week, and 10 billion of equity contribution by the shareholders.
And in terms of traffic risk, the concessionaire takes full traffic risk. It's fully, there's no availability-based payments. It's fully full toll road.
Yeah, it's something which we call the minimum traffic revenue guarantee, which is provided by the city of St. Petersburg. Basically, once the central section is constructed, the consortium will operate all the three sections, the northern, the central, and the southern, as one toll road, and will be collecting the tolls. If the revenue of the project is less than approximately 9.7 billion rubles a year, then the city will pay up the difference. If the revenue exceeds 9.7 billion, then the revenues are shared between the company and the city of St. Petersburg, with the city getting 90% of this extra income, and the concessionaire getting 10% of it. So essentially, the consortium is to a large extent sheltered from the traffic risk, but does participate in some of the upside.
Looking at the project coming to market, what's the latest activity now in terms of new toll roads and airport activity and port investment that there could be for investors to invest in?
Well, I think the most recent development is the announcement at the St. Petersburg Forum of the tender to build and operate the northern section of the St. Petersburg-Moscow highway. It's already started from the Moscow side, but now they're starting it from St. Petersburg side, and gradually they will be letting out those concessions for various sections of this road, with the view of fully reconstructing it into the modern tolled highway over time. So that would be quite interesting. That's something we will, as an investor and the lender, would be very interested in to support. Russia is actually embarking on a huge program of the toll road construction and modernization. So this one is the St. Petersburg-Moscow is just the first one, but there will be more coming. They will come in different forms. Some of them will be done as availability payment, the others will be done as direct tolls. Some of them will be done under this minimum revenue guarantee scheme, but we'll also be operating contracts. So there will be a variety of the ways the state will interact with the private investors. And in terms of the interest, we do see a lot of interest of, first of all, foreign industrial players who are quite interested to participate, and also domestic financial investors like ourselves, like Russian pension funds. They are quite keen. So, we're seeing the market being born, and we're basically seeing quite a bit of interest.
Looking at the debt market, if we start with equity, obviously there's yourselves and funds such as the Macquarie Renaissance Capital Fund. Are you seeing more interest now from other infrastructure funds looking at the Russian market to invest in?
Well, I think the way the infrastructure funds are set up, normally they would have some very small allocations dedicated to maybe Eastern Europe and emerging markets, and their main investment thesis is to invest into the Western European or other developed markets. So we don't see them coming into Russia as much as a specialized fund. You mentioned Macquarie Renaissance Fund. This is the fund which is raised specifically to invest in Russia and former Soviet Union countries. Obviously, we are sort of second largest bank and largest investment bank in the region, so of course we're very keen to look into infrastructure developments. Well, so are the sort of the other large Russian financial institutions like Gazprom Bank, Sberbank increasingly. We're partners with Gazprom Bank. Sberbank was one of our competitors on the Western high-speed diameter at the tender stage. So certainly there is quite a lot of interest from the specialized players. I think from non-specialized players, people who focus on infrastructure but maybe focus on Western Europe, we don't see them moving into Russia as much because these are small allocations, and those deals, they're taking time and they're taking a lot of attention.
And do you see the role of IFIs such as the EBRD, IFC, EIB as essential to the Russian market?
It's certainly very helpful. Western high-speed diameter is our second large infrastructure investment after the Pulkovo airport, which is the airport of St. Petersburg and third largest airport in Russia. In both those transactions, we had EBRD participating on the lending side. With the airport, we also have the support of IFC. And the other sort of multinationals. So yes, they are very helpful. The big issue which will be facing Russian infrastructure, and I wouldn't say it's a big issue, it's just the nature of the market. The international airports, obviously, they have a lot of foreign currency revenue, so we can attract international lenders to lend to us in foreign currency because we can easily afford repaying in foreign currency because we collect from the foreign airlines. With the internal toll roads, for example, like the Western high-speed diameter being the toll road in the city of St. Petersburg, the tolls will be collected in rubles, so naturally the revenues of the project are in rubles. So actually ruble financing is the best possible financing you can get. And then you come across a situation where the ruble liquidity of the foreign banks is very much limited. And then you do have to work more with the Russian financial institutions. But Nashekonombank, the Russian Development Bank, has been instrumental in both of our large transactions. They've taken 25 billion rubles taken in the debt of Western high-speed diameter, and obviously they have large ruble liquidity, and they're dedicated to invest in the sector. So we certainly would see them being very actively involved. The multinationals, yes, of course, we value their contribution not only as the lender, but also in their know-how, in their environmental standards, environmental reports they do. But I think what is the limiting factor is obviously the foreign currency risk.
And in terms of international bidders looking at the Russian market, do you still see high interest from the Spanish project sponsors and the French and the German construction fund companies?
Yeah, we do see a lot of interest from that side. The international, certainly construction companies are very interested. The toll road operators are quite interested to participate, and that interest would continue. Pretty much, I think all of them would be quite interested to come into the Russian market. I think the big issue for the international operators would be to actually learn how to operate in the Russian environment. What is very interesting is for Western high-speed diameter, we've actually spoken to various international operators, but at the end of the day, we've decided that actually we're probably better off operating the toll road ourselves. And it's not, it's 46 kilometers, it's not large. The reason we came to that conclusion is because the sharing the risk with an international operator who hasn't actually operated in the Russian environment would cost you quite a lot of money. And we've decided that we're better off spending that differential by essentially purchasing that expertise, by hiring the right consultants, by creating the right structure. For example, with the Western high speed, we will be building our own what we call mechanical bases, where we would park the trucks, park the machinery necessary, for example, for cleaning the snow from the road. We will be building the snow melters in addition to the snow melters which exist in the city. So we'll have our own capacity to melt the excess snow. And that's to a certain extent unique. That's not something a Spanish operator, Portuguese operator get used to dealing with. And whilst, it's not a new technology and sort of to a certain extent it's quite basic, but, we would need to operate to the Russian standards, and those standards are established for a long time and they need to be adhered to.
And looking ahead, do you see the main area of activity for investors being in the greenfield sector, or do you see state assets being privatised?
Both would be happening. I think there will be quite a lot of new construction, that's for sure. But for example, if you talk about Moscow and Petersburg, there is an existing road. So we're talking about expanding it, turning it into the tolled road. So to a certain extent, it is sort of a brownfield transaction. Russia does need new roads. Russia needs the widening of the roads. So I think, yes, it will be a combination. In terms of the state assets, in the airport sector, actually, if you look at the sort of top 10 airports, some of them are still in the state hands, but quite a few have gone through either a PPP route or have been sort of privatized. So in that sense, yes, there is still room to see more privatizations and more sort of reconstructions there through the PPP, but not as much in the top 10, but probably in the next, in the top 20. But in any case, I think all those airports will be interesting for both international and domestic Russian investors. The growth is phenomenal. The propensity to fly is growing, and it's a big country, and we do need great infrastructure, both in airports or the toll road sector. So I think, to answer your question, yes, it will be a combination, and we will see both.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.